For those of you that are aware of eye patterns, congratulations. If you're aware of eye patterns, what about voice patterns? What else can you recognize in the voice? So we have a bunch of senses, and I'm sure you guys all know about the senses. How many senses do we have? We don't actually know. Most science says 5 senses. I challenge that. Well, actually, I don't challenge that. It's already beaten. There's more than 5 senses already. 5's rather limiting. But anyway, so what are the senses? Visual, right? You can see these things in other people. This is what we call calibration, or how we calibrate, how we make our judgments. So if we want to be better at communicating and better at knowing the incongruencies, we want to break it down. But as I mentioned, this is a high quality and going to be a free, full kind of training. I'll introduce our training just briefly at some point in it. But the idea here, help all you lovely souls master more communication and learn the basics of coaching. So even if you are a mother and you're not a coach, you'll be able to use these skills with yourself and your family. If you're a teacher and not a coach, you'll be able to use these skills in the classroom. These skills are not specifically for the coaching one-to-one conversation where you get paid. Although for coaches doing that, I hope there will still be some nuggets in here, or at least a couple of models that will knock your socks off, as we say in Australian slang. Question to start. Who is the best coach in the world?
I have just put there ourselves.
Self. Right on. Not just yourself. Yep. And life itself. But there might be a couple of people out there like Jennifer that will say, no, my kids. And to tell you the truth, kids are also fantastic coaches because the kids reflect back so much. So yeah, I believe life is the best coach. And if you're not getting the results you want, maybe you're cool with that. But I think there's always an area in life where we want more. And I'm going to reflect back on Buddha, sometimes in Buddhism, because I was reading this lovely Buddhist book the other day, like, wow. I'm going to reflect back to Buddha sometimes because some people say all suffering starts from having desire. So let go of desire. Don't be attached to desire. But I think even Buddha wanted results. Yeah, I think he wanted to help end suffering, or at least reduce suffering and have more impact. So we all want to get the results we deserve in life. There's areas where we all want improvements. Here are my 2 lovely kids. Natural coaches, and just on the right, one of my favorite new pictures. Jay, thanks for covering there. That's where I met Jay, and I met 2 other brilliant trainers and coaches just the other week. So I've learned from my kids, and I've learned a lot from others, and I've learned a lot from people from a variety of backgrounds. My number one skill is not being smarter. I'm not smarter than anyone else here. Yeah, I'm not natural at emotional intelligence. I wasn't natural at listening. I didn't have extra deep skills in any of this area whatsoever. No extra skills whatsoever. But there was one thing I did have. When I was a kid, about 9 years old, my father was suddenly the captain, or the coach of my football team. Now, I don't know if my dad actually knew much about coaching, because I saw a book. On his shelf, How to Coach Your Football Team. So as a 9-year-old, I saw that my dad had the book How to Coach Your Football Team. And that was the smallest little seed of a big tree growing. I realized that if you want to do something, you can read how to do it. So I ended up learning and reading about emotional intelligence. I ended up reading and learning about mindfulness and Buddhism. I lived in North Thailand. I read a lot of the Buddhist texts. And I learned about NLP. Some of this, or most of this, has its roots in NLP. Emotional intelligence, mindfulness, neuroscience is great. It is wonderful to know that people can get an amygdala hijack and the chemicals can go certain ways and affect the way the person operates. It's great to understand about dopamine and serotonin. But I wanted to know, how do I stop anxiety? How do I get rid of my addictions? How do I actually make the changes so I don't have an amygdala hijack? It's great to understand the chemicals, but how do you actually do it? And that's what I went deeper and deeper and deeper in. Now, the NLP that we teach has a lot of different varieties. The one we teach, we are really focused on how do we actually make the changes, or how do we actually change our mindsets? And that's what we're focusing on, is how, a little bit of the science, a bit more of the art of how we become better communicators and how we can use coaching to help those around us and those we love. And if I can do this, anyone can. However, I have been blessed. I read some books on how to invest in property. I read books on how to invest in the stock market. So whenever I made money or made some extra, I put it into this kind of stuff. I put it into all kinds of training. I keep investing in training. I keep hiring my own coaches, and this is a portion of them, but really this is just some of them. University level 8 graduate certificate, just under a doctorate. I'm considering doing a doctorate yet next, but maybe not. We'll see. So I've done a ton of work, and what I'm sharing with you is a mix of all this work, and it's a bit hard to say where each bit is from, but I'm going to share with you guys some of the best stuff. If you want to become a real pro, come join us in Chiang Mai next year. We were in Bali last year. We were in Bali a couple of years ago, and we're going to be over in North Thailand soon. With our Motivate community, we started as Motivate Shanghai back in 2012. But with this community, we have many graduates, co-trainers, and actually 3 of our guys are speaking at TEDx in Qingdao this month. 2 of our graduates, and one of them, Kevin, our co-trainer. He's in one of those pictures I just showed. We also run advanced training each week, and we make it really easy for people to come together. Some of the training that some of my, you might say competitors, I wouldn't call them competitors whatsoever. There are other trainings you can buy on Udemy for like $3. And there are some other trainings you get where you can do the training in like 4 days or 5 days. Our training tends to be longer and more detailed than the others. So rather than just doing it for 4 days or 5 days, or rather than doing it for a couple of hours online, our training tends to run over roughly a year. But some people, they do it and they stay in for a couple of years because we bring in extra trainers. So I don't think there's any competition or anything else like what we do effectively. And not just us, you'll see our other people, like wonderful people like Janine or Alicia or Bernadette running their own events, and we give them support. Coaching is a huge growth market. Coaching is huge. Millions or billions, according to this, is pouring into coaching, billions. But a lot of the money is actually getting pushed to the side. A lot of the money isn't being earned by coaches. A lot of our coaches that have done 3-4 years practicing, I'm a member of the ISO. A lot of coaches join, they put money in, they put the effort in, and they don't become coaches. So most of this coaching money, a lot of this coaching money is actually going to big companies for training, yeah, or high-level marketers like Tony Robbins. That's where the majority of the coaching money is going. And with that, this is just a little bit of a warning. This is something I see a lot more in Australia and also in America. I see a little of this in China. I laughed my ass off when I saw this, so I like it. So if you do hire a coach, or a trainer, what you want to do is obviously avoid the fakes. And the best way to check that is LinkedIn. Just simply check out LinkedIn. You can see how long they've been doing it for. You should see continual development, and you should see references you can track. If people are having websites on the www, you should be able to see some references from people. And those people you should be able to track. I was looking at one website. It was for like, actually, Jennifer does the real deal. So Jennifer helps people launch books. A couple of years ago, I was looking at someone launching a book, and they had these reviews by authors. And the reviews were left by, say, John Blow, book author. And when I typed on the internet, John Blow's, I couldn't find him anywhere. And there was another reference from someone called Michael Jones. And I went to the internet, Michael Jones, and there's a million of them. And there was another one, and they didn't exist. I couldn't check. So a lot of websites will have fake references, but LinkedIn doesn't do that. It's hard or possibly impossible to have fake references on LinkedIn. So if you ever hire a coach or a trainer, therapist, yeah, LinkedIn is the way to check. But I think LinkedIn is largely blocked in China. So the other thing you can do is speak to others. So if you want to look at our training, or you want to look at Jennifer's book work, so if you want to launch a book, you can speak with Jennifer, but you can also look at all the best-selling authors that she's helped, yeah? Rajni, for example, right? So you get her authors and you check. That's how you avoid the fakes. And as soon as you avoid the fakes, every dollar you invest in yourself, I believe, is a dollar very well spent. People spend 100,000 RMB, maybe 100,000 US dollars a year in fancy universities, but they often end up, I can't invest in a coach. Slight exaggeration. I can't invest in therapy. I can't invest in psychotherapy. You know, a lot of people are very reluctant to invest in themselves, but you are the number one person or the number one vehicle to invest in. Yeah, keep that in the back of your mind. I don't care if you buy mine or something else, as long as you buy something genuine. Okay, in this training, we are going to start with an overview or an interview of building the foundations, cover neurological levels, congruency, calibration, and then next week we're going to hit advanced communication techniques. We're going to look at a process called OIC. I love that. And the fourth week, we're going to do some advanced integration to merge it all together. Now we're going to start with neurological levels. All right, and just to check in, everyone's doing all right? I'm not talking too fast? Howdy? Okay, wonderful, great. I was talking to a gentleman called John Grinder. John Grinder created NLP. And this is a model from the NLP world created by Robert Dilts. And Mr. John Grinder, hey, Dustin and Tallulah, thank you very much for turning your cameras on. Thank you. John Grinder was saying, hey, this isn't proper NLP. It's what we call a content model because there's content. NLP is about patterns. But anyway, this is probably the most useful, the number one most useful coaching model I've ever come across in the world. And it's useful for coaching and communication. That's why I picked this. So this is the number one model for me. Feel free to take a screenshot. And for those in the Motivate community or different WeChat groups, putting out some of these pictures so I can grab them. But this is the number one model for me. This model, every coach should know off by heart, or at least have a good understanding of each level. I'm going to pick Jay for a moment, right? So Jay and I think we both began with Christian beliefs, which is totally fine. But we have a belief that there's something bigger than us. Yeah. We have a belief that there's something bigger than us. Yeah. Some people might call it Allah or God or universe, and some people might not, and that's okay too. But we have our thing called spirituality, connecting with the universe. Yeah. And underneath that, we have me or I, my identity, who I am, how I see myself. I'm Adrian. And by the way, notice how I say that. I'm Adrian. If I say I'm Jay, doesn't sound right, maybe doesn't feel right. We'll get into that in a couple of slides. When our identity is congruent, has a certain feel. So we have our identity, I am X, I am Y, I'm a coach, I'm a trainer, I'm a teacher, I'm a parent, I'm a father, I'm a lover, I'm a fighter sometimes. How I am, how I see myself, my identity. Sometimes we might have a conversation about spirituality, religion, or universe, and sometimes we might be communicating on the level of identity. Who are you? What's your background? And what do you do? Yeah. Chunking down a little bit. You'll hear this word from me, chunking down, getting more specific, or going up, chunking up, getting more abstract. So we chunk down a little bit. Our identity is made up of what we value. I value health. Yeah. I value love. I value family. And I obviously value community. I value community a lot. Yeah. So one way to see it is like a pyramid, the top being spirituality, identity, values, and down. Or you could also see it like an onion, and the onion rings coming out. Yeah. Now, from the value, if you take the value love, around that value love, we have our beliefs. What does love mean? What's the evidence of love? What leads to love? What does love allow you to do? And you have a whole belief system around that value of love. Health, we have a belief system around health. Yeah. Community, we have a whole belief system around community. Hence, the beliefs get more and more and more and more. When I work with someone, you know, they've got thousands or infinite number of beliefs. So I'll often chunk up to the value level. And I like having discussions about values and beliefs. Yeah. If we go down and chunk down, we start to get our capability. Yeah. I'm sure you've all heard the story about, was it the quarter mile? No one thought you could race so fast, or once upon a time, slam dunking a basketball was a big thing. It wasn't possible running so fast. It wasn't happening. Like people could only go so fast, and then suddenly one person would beat that limit, or one person did a slam dunk. Or Tony Hawk, skateboarder. Tony Hawk, one of the world's best skateboarders. 1 year, he did this 900-degree turn. A 360 is when you do a complete turn. So Tony Hawk did a 900, which is like 2.5 loops. And the first person in the world to ever do a 900. Following year, someone did a 1080, as in 3 full rotations, right? When we believe something is possible, our capabilities increase. Does anyone believe they can fly? Oh, point the way to the airport, buy them a ticket, and suddenly they believe they can fly, right? So when the belief is there, the capability follows, right? Now, what we're capable of doing is how we do it, yeah? We don't go to the airport if we don't have a ticket. So our capabilities lead to our behavior, and our behavior leads to our environment. Hence, you could see this like an onion, and you see the outer layer of the onion. You can't really see the inner. In fact, you can't. They're metaphors. And the outer, the environment. When we're working with people, we often see the outside, maybe their behavior or their environment, right? And we often judge a book by the cover, right? So with this model, for those that like spirituality or coaching, you want to have a firm definition of each one. And one thing we can do to communicate better is match the level of the speaker. When you walk down the road and someone says, "How you doing?" "Oh, great weather today, great weather." You don't start talking about God. If someone talks about the weather, you generally reply, "Yeah, great weather." Yeah. If someone starts talking about what they believe, a more natural response is to agree or disagree with the belief or to share our belief. Yeah. So we can match on the same level. Hey, Jay, I can hear you crunching there, man. That must be crunchy.
Oh,
Oh, good. I actually hear that crunch. So this model, I actually printed out. And when I was beginning my coaching career, I would have, say, my client sitting over there, and I would have the model behind them on the wall. So when I was talking to my client, I had the model on the wall behind them. Little challenge. I considered doing this as an exercise, but we weren't because I was a bit late. When you're having conversations or having a group conversation, see if you can track where the conversation is. Are they talking about people's behaviors? Are they talking about what they believe? Are they talking about identity? You won't see that in any of the sales books. 2 eyes, 2 ears, a vestibular system, and an intuition. This will make more sense in a moment.
My question is that your recommendation was to meet people where they are conversationally wise on the neurological level. But let's say you kind of want to move them up the scale. Like if someone's really focused on the environment, like let's say they're really judgmental about some clothes or what someone looks like, and you want to steer that conversation up the levels to something that's maybe a bit more rewarding or changes what they're focusing on, how would you do that?
Well, what you're saying a bit there is actually a bit more towards probably our next session. In short, very important thing, people like people that are like them. Now we've got foreigners in China. Okay, anyone else a foreigner? Jenny, you're a foreigner in China. Who's another foreigner in China? All right. Let's say, just imagine if you were Jenny or me, and you're walking down the streets in an area full of Chinese people, and you've been in China for a couple of hours or a couple of weeks, it doesn't matter, and you're completely surrounded by Chinese people. You're the only Chinese person, sorry, you're the only person of your color, your race, your sex, perhaps, whatever, and suddenly you see another person that looks a little bit like you. You're going to notice him? Yeah. You might even like them straight away, or you might even go up to them and say, hey, yeah. And the amount of times I was in Kunming for a while, remote place, and I didn't see many foreigners at all in Kunming. And then I remember I'd see a foreigner, and I was like, whoa! I would often go straight up to them, and they wouldn't think anything weird whatsoever. It was like, foreigner, let's meet, let's connect, right? So people like people that are like them. So firstly, meet people where they're at. And we call this, well, it's often labeled as rapport. And after rapport, then we can lead somewhere else. Yeah. But now, if I met an Australian in China, and he's the first Australian I met, I couldn't just go, hey, you're Aussie, cool, let's go rob a bank. Yeah. Sorry, we're convicts, right? He wouldn't. Probably not, unless he's from Frankston, right? So like, hey, let's go rob a bank. No. We'll fall out of rapport. So people like people that are like them, but to take people to change, generally we want to go little bit by little bit by little bit by little bit. So, hey, you're Aussie, I'm Aussie, cool. Hey, we're in China. Yeah, we're in China. Been eating a lot of Chinese food? Yeah. How's your Chinese? Oh, not so good. Okay, I speak a little bit. Yeah. Hey, do you like money? Yeah, I like money too. Hey, do you want to have more money? Yeah, I want money too. You want to come up with a plan to make more money? Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe we can get together, talk a little bit. Maybe we can come up with a plan to make more money. So we talk, and slowly we're getting closer and closer and closer to robbing a bank. But hopefully at some point, consciousness will kick in. Yeah. But imagine you have a friend that's overweight. And you say, hey, friend, how you doing? Oh, God, you got to lose weight. Yeah. But if we do it slowly by slowly, piece by piece, magical things are possible. Just a split second. Any other questions you want to ask right now while I turn the lights up a little bit?
Nothing in the chat at all, Adrian. So
people like people that are like them, but change is coming up. Now, with these neurological levels, when we have alignment, things are smooth and easy. If I go up to another Australian convict and say rob a bank, he's going to be like, no way. Yeah, it's out of alignment with his true character, out of alignment. Now, if we look at neurological levels, consider this a sniper. Consider a sniper, like a professional sniper. He may have a spiritual angle, he may not, but he identifies as a sniper or an assassin. You know, maybe he watched assassin movies or whatever, but he identifies with it. What does a sniper value? Perfection, focus, patience, maybe some other things. He believes in what he does. He's capable of taking the shot, taking the hit. His behavior, well, he might be lying down, lining up the shot, or he might be fit, he might be working out. He may be reading books from other snipers and stuff. And his environment, well, hopefully he's in the army. Hopefully he's in the army, not the battleground or something. And this is in alignment. Yeah. If you take that sniper out, like they retire from the military, they often have big problems because their identity changes. Yeah. But it's not just the identity changing. Suddenly they're in a different environment. Yeah. So suddenly all life changes for the sniper and he's out of alignment. And he could have post-traumatic stress, sleeping, he might questioning himself, all kinds of things happen. When we're in alignment, things are smooth and easy. If someone has a big body and they love McDonald's and they love fast food and they love eating and they identify as a big person and they value and they you know, maybe they're a sumo wrestler, maybe they enjoy it, they might be in alignment. And if they're in alignment, they're in alignment. But we're often not in alignment. Part of us wants this. Yeah. Part of us wants that. So not just us, but we'll focus on us. We end up out of alignment. And it can be as simple as having a desire. Because as soon as we have a desire, we're missing something or we don't have something. So we're out of alignment. And alignment isn't like alignment. Stop the camera, sorry. This is grabbing something from me on the screen. Alignment isn't like perfect. You don't get perfect because you see it falls over. Alignment is actually like riding a bike. It might look like it's balanced, but it's actually moving. Riding a bike constantly. Yeah, riding a bike is a matter of handling that left, right. When we're walking, we're constantly falling over. So on a level, you could say that's balanced. And if you zoom in further, it's actually a matter of continually having a desire, coming back, having a desire, coming back, having a desire, coming back. Yeah. So we want to get as close to alignment as we can. We do. And I have a thought for you. I want to know your thoughts on this. And not just say, sorry, everyone. I think all communication begins to gain alignment. Or it might be a response. And if it's a response, I think the response is also to gain alignment. What do you think of that? All communication begins to gain alignment. I don't use the word all a lot. All is a universal quantifier. Words like always, never, ever are the easiest words to challenge. But yeah, I think all communication begins to gain alignment. Even a plant, a seed, it's got this program to come up in the right conditions, and it's gaining alignment. And it's constantly trying to gain alignment, chasing the sun, constantly gaining alignment. So we communicate when we have a misalignment. Misalignment isn't necessarily bad. I have a misalignment right now. I have a desire. My desire is to share and to help upskill the world. Starting here, I want to upskill more people. My first thing in China is how can I serve people? Yeah. Given 3 presentations already. Free, free, free. Why? Want to make the world a better place. Is that a bad desire to have? Well, it can be if it's too out of balance. It can be if I neglect my children, my body, and my mind too much. So I give because I'm out of alignment. I want to give and share and I want to make the world a better place. I'm not fully accepting the world as it is. Yeah. Well, I kind of am accepting the world how it is, and I'm accepting my part to help make it a better place. So anyone want to throw out a disagreement to that? I spent like 20 minutes on the train going,
Adrian, I'd throw a little bit of breadth into that one. I think people can be communicating, and then also all of a sudden the alignment's gone. So we can be talking and find someone pleasant, and then they might say something which is totally against our values. And all of a sudden, there's no alignment, the rapport disappears. And then we have to think about how we're going to communicate or how bad that alignment is. So I sort of, the concept is there can be a misalignment, there can be a little misalignment, there can be suddenly a huge misalignment. And if we look at the truth of what you're saying, is that, yeah, all communication is about getting in alignment. Now, it's different levels of that, I believe. If we're doing it in a workplace, we have a different purpose, a different sort of alignment. If we're doing it as someone we met and we like, then there's a little bit more personal side of things, alignment. So it's a huge topic that people might not really be understanding what it is when we talk about alignment. And you use the word rapport, which is what I felt more comfortable with. But I'm actually liking what you say because it's a more subtle shift. Rapport takes time to build, where alignment is an immediate, more intense, noticeable concept. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and you also mentioned on levels. So for everyone here, rapport is often taught as rapport is something that happens between 2 people or you and a group. But rapport happens on another level. Rapport happens on an inner level. Having rapport with yourself. Yeah. So as I just shared on the previous slide, the neurological levels, yeah, but we may have left brain and right brain, but we may have conscious and unconscious and need rapport in that. And part of me wants to go to McDonald's, and part of me wants to, well, she wan jian kong deshu wu. So I'm like, oh, uh. So the parts of me are in conflict. Parts of me are in conflict. So I may have to get rapport with the part of me. We also have the triune brain model. Simon Sinek is popular for talking about it. He discovered it in a book. He just didn't like to give credit. But the triune brain, around the top of the spine, we have our first brain, or the reptilian brain, and then we have the mammalian brain, which is more emotion, and the neocortex, the biggest one over the top. These three brains also, coincidentally, this is why I don't like Simon Sinek so much. Simon Sinek should have kept learning that the triune brain is also the neocortex, the mammalian brain, the heart center, yeah, and the reptilian brain being in the stomach. It's just Simon Sinek went too much into business and didn't go deep enough into his studies. So the three brains are physically separated, and they're also in the head. And we got to get these three in line. So my tummy is saying, you got to eat. And boy, that moves us, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah. You know, like, I love you, but I'm hungry. Yeah. So out comes a hunger. So we got to get rapport and alignment with ourselves. And that's often a big trouble. And that's what I'm kind of focusing on here. Is this rapport and alignment? Yeah, we can say it's for coaching, but it's for coaching ourselves too. And if you really want to change others, fantastic. Start with yourself.
That's
Jenny,
why,
please.
Adrian, I believe we could extend the sentence to say all communication begins to gain alignment first with self, then with others. Because you must be able to communicate with yourself to recognize your identity and the way you communicate verbally and non-verbally with yourself first, before you are able to communicate verbally or non-verbally with others. So there must be an agreement with yourself. That is what I want, or this is what I don't want, or what I want to achieve, what I don't want to achieve first, before we even begin to communicate with others. And the biggest issue I see, even with clients, is that they don't communicate. They don't take the time to get to know themselves, to spend time with themselves. What do I like? How do I like my eggs? How do I like this? Listen to yourself. Sit in silence. Listen to your own thoughts, your own vibes, your own moods. Get to know who you are. Get to communicate with yourself effectively and positively and in a healthy way before you begin to communicate with others. Because communication can be very complex, because what we say is not necessarily what is interpreted. You know, we have all the communication process with the whole disturbance and obstacles and all of that. So when you communicate first with yourself, getting to know who you are, and you're at this particular level to communicate more effectively with others, it does help. So
very well said. Very well said, Jenny. Very well said. And if anyone here has coaching skills or learned coaching skills, the number one person to practice with is yourself. Little tip: if you are actually doing a form of self-coaching, if you're applying NLP or something coaching model to yourself, if you do it all in the same seat, in the same spot, not so, separate. If you're going to coach yourself, maybe write down the problem. Write down the problem, or put it on a whiteboard. Write it down. Step back. Yeah. For psychotherapy, you put your younger self on the chair. So I have little boy Adrian there. So I have little Adrian there, big Adrian here. Yeah. Or for couples, an amazing thing to do as a couple. If you and your partner are having a challenge or a challenging communication or an argument, wherever the other person is sitting, swap spots, swap seats, yeah? And that you will find, just do that once and you'll be like, oh, yeah? So if you're having an argument with someone, swap seats, yeah? Jump into their seat and then suddenly you get, yeah? Now, if you swap seats and you're like, okay, I'm going to imagine I have a girlfriend there and I hop in my girlfriend's seat and I go, oh, this girl's stupid. Well, I'm not actually in her seat, yeah? Yeah? So when you step into the other person's shoes, we really want to step into their shoes, and that's a whole nother topic. If you are going to go and step in someone else's shoes, it's very important you go through a separation process. You go into a third person first. We want to dissociate and separate. So we write down and we have a separation, right? Yeah. But anyway, that's another topic. Let's move forward. When we want to go to a certain destination, does anyone do a triple check? A triple check? A lot of people don't do a double check, me included. Yeah? I came today, I'm like 2 hours extra. I didn't do a double check. I should have called up a friend and said, hey, I've got a 2-hour gap. Is that long enough? Yeah? So what we do with our thinking is we get an answer. I know where I'm going, and we go with it. Yeah? I know what they mean. I go with it. My friend met me the other day in a place called Bold Bread. He put in a Didi Bold Bread. Didi took him half an hour away to a different Bold Bread. This happens all the time. We don't do a double check. So the way we do the double check is we might actually want to break down. Now, for those of you that are aware of eye patterns, congratulations. If you're aware of eye patterns, what about voice patterns? What else can you recognize in the voice? So we have a bunch of senses, and I'm sure you guys all know about the senses. How many senses do we have? We don't actually know. Most science says 5 senses. I challenge that. Well, actually, I don't challenge that. It's already beaten. There's more than 5 senses already. 5's rather limiting. But anyway, so what are the senses? Visual, right? You can see these things in other people. This is what we call calibration, or how we calibrate, how we make our judgments. So if we want to be better at communicating and better at knowing the incongruencies, we want to break it down. So I actually said I value holistic health, and I felt. So visual, I didn't see anything. Auditory, I didn't hear anything. But Kate, kinesthetically, I noticed feelings in my body and I evaluated them as an incongruency. It's good to be able to break it down. When you break down, that's the science. The art is putting it all together. People generally want to be the artist. They're not prepared to learn how the colors work. But this is like the colors. The colors are a combination of the senses. We see certain things, we hear certain things, we may get feelings. Yeah, we may get intuitions. And from all those senses, we make an evaluation. It lines up. It feels good. They feel, or they're honest. Yeah. Now, the senses there, visual, auditory, kinesthetics, touch, feeling, S. What are the other senses there, by the way? Anyone know the other senses? STV? I didn't use the scientific letters. What are the other senses we have?
I presume the T is for taste.
Yep.
Is there a spatial awareness or something to that extent?
Oh, Well, S for smell, T for taste, and we have this thing called the vestibular system. Vestibular system is like what Dustin just said, a spatial awareness. When you're going down an elevator or you're going through a tunnel or you're falling over, the vestibular system is in the ear, and the vestibular system gives you a sense of space or a sense of direction. Yeah. And I got a question mark there for intuition and other senses. Maybe there's more senses. Perhaps there's a sixth one, now a seventh sense, right? So we have all these senses that we take in. Now, remember, most people like the magic. They don't like to do the practice. A lot of people like the art. They don't get so much into the science. When we break down a communication, or we break down how do we know what we know, how do we know what we know? Generally, it's because, we've got pictures or memories that we see, visual, yeah. We might hear voices, I love you, whatever it is, auditory, yeah. We may have our feelings, certain feelings, kinesthetic, tactile, or internal. If you ever smell fresh baked bread, or a smell, I had a smell the other day. I could smell it was I think it was Gender One. It's a Calvin Klein perfume they released in 1998. I was a teenager, and there was a particular perfume that me and all my friends liked, and I smelled it in 2024, and my brain went straight back to that initial memory. Right? Senses, smells, tastes, very, very important. But I left those ones blank because the smell, the taste, the vestibular we don't use that a lot in communication. The kinesthetics, you want to develop your ability to feel and to sense. With the auditory, you might want to put more awareness on tonality, pitch, the one cool acronym, RSVPT, RSVP, your RSVP to something, rhythm, speed, volume, pitch, and tonality. Is this all making sense? Is this all making sense? In Chinese,
Adrian,
we have
may I come in there?
Upward tone, downward tone. Yep. William, want to add in something here?
Yeah. Apologies for being late. You know the reasons for that. Yes, that extra sense that you put a question mark by, I personally call the God sense, because that allows you to put all the other senses together and understand authenticity. Because authenticity is the only one that really counts when it comes to actually deciding on what to do, in my opinion. I don't know what you think.
I think that's great. And I think if you listen to some of William's classes when he comes on, William puts it all together brilliantly and fantastically well. The VAK there is like a breakdown, is the little pieces. And when you get the little pieces right, it helps us get the God sense. And when I'm observing someone, I'm watching their verbals, or what's actually coming out their mouth, and their non-verbals, their body language, their posture. And in order to sharpen the axe, in order to get better at communication, you might want to focus on specific areas and break them down. 2015, I think 2014, 15, I was doing a lot of face-to-face coaching. Hey, how you doing? What's the problem? I could watch their eye patterns. And then I went to Australia and I took my clients onto the phone. Yeah. Within 6 months, my ability to coach on the phone was just as good as face-to-face. But when I was on the phone, I started getting better and better. I could hear when my clients were taking a longer pause, because people normally have pauses, but on the phone, you pay extra attention to the spaces, the pauses. You really increase your ability to hear incongruencies when you're coaching on the telephone. If you never do long telephone calls, if you've never had long telephone calls with girlfriends, mums, and all that, you've probably got lower ability to hear congruence and incongruence over the phone or over the auditory channel. If you're coaching or working with people continually face-to-face, you're probably going to have a better visual sense. Now, if you want to get an even better visual sense, The next 10 conversations you have, friends, family, loved ones, watch their eyes. The next 10 conversations, watch their breathing. Are they breathing from the top? Are they breathing from the bottom? Yeah. I mean, think, if you're about to tell someone bad news, or if you're hiding the truth, or if you're in denial, do you think the breathing is going to be smooth? Yeah. Sometimes people are angry and you can kind of see it in their body, but they're trying to act cool. Yeah. So there's often incongruencies, and if you break down and focus on each one, you'll get better at each one, and then you'll access that God sense, or it'll all come together better. If you want to be a better painter, spend a month working with just 2 colors. Spend the next month with 2 different colors. Spend the next month with 2 different colors. And then put all those colors together again and see what comes out. Does that make clear sense? Clear sense. Not going to get into it, but clear sense. Is clear? Does that make clear sense? What about the word clear? Clear, I consider clear to be a visual word, clear. People also tend to communicate with more visual words. Let me paint a picture for you. Let me paint a picture for you. See yourself painting. If you want to get rapport with people, some people will talk a lot about values or beliefs or behaviors, right? But some people will use a lot of visual words. And for visual people, they're not actually visual people, but when people are communicating, sometimes they will say things like paint a picture. Yeah. Can you show me the way? Imagine you're helping someone on the street. I don't know if you guys are old enough to know about this, but back in the day, we used to use maps, and they were like maps in paper. We didn't have all this tech, right? So imagine you're helping someone on the street and you pull out a map. You can see it. So people can use the visual sense, right? And you might tell them and point to the map and tell them, yeah? Yet some people will give you directions like this. So you go down there and you go left, right, turn at this building, and they'll give you it all, and they give it all in an auditory way, yeah? And some people will give you directions and they'll use a combination. Down the street, at the big building, turn left. When you get to that red building, red being a visual word, yeah, you turn right. Go straight down 2 blocks, yeah? So this is using a combination of kinesthetics, kinesthetics, hand movements, down the blocks and movements, right? And describing visual words, and we're talking. So a combination of the senses. When we use a combination of the senses, our communication can be absorbed through multiple channels rather than just the one. Can be advantageous. Right. Our communication. Hey, William. Thanks for coming, William. I'm really glad you're here. Let's talk.
You're very kind. Indeed.
We're going to have a couple of words. I really appreciate you coming today, William.
You're very kind. And it's lovely to see Jennifer as well, and to see some lovely new faces, Jane, of course. Wow.
Oh, mate,
lovely.
Really
lovely to see all of you.
Really happy to see you here.
There's been a few things going on in my life that have been very different, I can assure you.
Yeah. We'll catch up soon. So what's happening here? You're getting a verbal message. I hope you can see the message.
Body language is saying something else.
I love to see you here. And then you get in this non-verbal message, which doesn't match. Yeah. This happens so often. And sometimes the speaker is unaware of it. Sometimes we have incongruencies that we are not even aware of. Hence what Jennifer, William, you should have heard what Jennifer was sharing earlier on. She's saying, get congruency with yourself first. She had wonderful points on that. Get congruency on yourself first. But, you know, God gave us 2 ears, 2 eyes, 1 mouth. Maybe we should do that. Practice talking a lot less, listening a lot more. But maybe I should change that from listening to observing. Put a lot more focus on the way they're speaking. Or, as we said before, maybe focus on the speed, the rhythm, the volume, the pitch, the tone. Yeah? Or the visual, the eyes, the breathing, the gestures, the breathing high, breathing low. Did the breathing change? Look for the incongruencies. And the evaluation is when we put it all together. We generally get a true and a false, congruent and not congruent. It's the easiest way to see the world, black, white. It's not actually like that. You always have an in-between. You know, you get like yin yang and you get the gray areas in the middle. But really we get congruency and incongruency. What I want to see from you guys and what I would love is for you to practice the observation skills. You want to pick what you want to focus on first. Don't just wing it. You can, but have a bit of a plan. Have a bit of a plan. I would suggest actually write it down. You know, I am going to focus on watching eye movements. I am going to focus on listening. You can watch TV or some movie. Don't Lie to Me is a good TV show, I believe, right? Watch one of these and try to pick out specifically what is incongruent, yeah? Pick out what is incongruent. Pick out the little things. And with yourself, with your ability to get amazing results, a lot of it comes down to being honest and sincere, or honest and aligned with yourself. This alignment thing, I don't believe it happens just overnight. I believe this is a skill we want to continually work on. Our conscious focuses, we say, between 5 to 9 bits of information. You cannot really listen to myself and Jennifer talking at the same time. If we are both talking and then William starts talking, you can't consciously track 3 conversations. It's too much. Our conscious can track so much. Our unconscious does so much more. Our conscious is like the RAM on a computer. It's like the tip of the iceberg. But the only thing is, with the tip of the iceberg, there's a much bigger chunk underneath. Only the tip of the iceberg is not quite like that with the conscious, because the conscious is even smaller. The conscious is not the tip of the iceberg, it's even smaller than that. The unconscious is the supercomputer, and the unconscious communicates through the body. The unconscious communicates first. The unconscious communicates quicker than the conscious. You can try this. Ask your friends a question and ask them not to answer. Example, Jennifer, don't answer, please. Keep your mute button on. Hey, Jennifer, do you like tomatoes? How about eggplant? Do you like China? Do you like... You can play a game with this. Ask people questions, right? And look, and you'll see the body will respond, and then the words come from the conscious, right? I like to shut up. And when people talk, I often like to wait now, and I feel a bit more. This feeling thing is an amazing word. Perhaps because I was in the army, I didn't value it, but now I'm realizing, holy cow, the unconscious and the feelings, right? If you want to increase the bridge, If you want to increase the bridge or communication, muscle testing. Example of muscle testing, you can put your fingers together like that. And if you're really sensitive, you can say your name. My name is Adrian. My name is John. It might feel different. Yeah. Another way is you can flick it. My name is Adrian. My name is John. Adrian, John. If we have a bunch of people, I'll have someone put their arm like this, and I'll have them hold their arm, and I'll push down on their arm and say, your name's Adrian. Yep. Your name's John. Name's Dustin. Name's Jennifer. Name's Adrian. Yeah. The muscles respond differently. When it's congruent, it's stronger. When it's false, it's weaker. And if anyone is at the gym, you try to push weight. If you believe you can do it, you actually push harder. That's muscle testing, and there's a variety of ways to do it. We want to increase our ability to feel, sense, and use intuition. Now, it is time. It is time we should probably pause because it's time. I came late, but we'll wrap up here because we'll stick to time. I do have more, but I'll stop it here for time. What I want to do as soon as we start next week, I want to jump into this neurological levels and look a little bit at values and values for you. This is gold if used the right way. So this is the advanced assignment for you, and I've just done this a few times for people. Jasmine, thanks for saying around. Jasmine knows about it. She helped me present on it just the other day. This is an absolute wonderful thing. What I'd like for you guys to do is to write out 10, 20 things you value. Value health, value love. Now, a value, I won't get into what values are, okay? So you can imagine what a value is: health, love, connection. And it's okay because you're the author. You're the boss. You write out 10, 20 things that you value. Then I want you to pick out the top 6 to 9 values that you actually live by. How you've been. Not how you want to be. How you've been. Is that clear? Okay, so step 2, write out the top 6 to 9, how you've actually been. Now, that is a reflection on what your current top values are. Now, this is the top values that you live by. So in relationship to life, these are the top 6 to 9 values that I live by. Honesty is up there. It's not quite number 1. It's more like number 3. But it's up there, yeah. See if you can figure out the order. In our training, we actually work and we spend a couple of weeks on values, right? Even a couple of months on values. And we often end up changing the values, which leads us to step 3 there. How do you want to be? How do you want to be? Consider if you change the order or put in a new value. So now we have 2. We got the list of how we've been, and we got the list of how we actually want to be. These values are inside of you. They come from deep within you, or it's a combination of all this stuff in the outer world. Either way, it's coming out of you. And this is bringing conscious awareness. You guys know about the power of awareness, right? Awareness is the number 1 key for change. Once we're aware of something, we can change it. Once we're aware of the incongruency, we can change it. But if we're not aware, we're not going to change. So this exercise gives you awareness, and then it gives you the opportunity to kind of design your life, to redesign your life. Okay, there's a little bit more. just a little tiny bit more. Remember, there isn't that much competition up the top because not many people actually like to do the real work, but this is the real work. The next step is to take each value and write out 40 to 200 words about it. Each value. So love, for example, love. Write 40 to 200 words about love. The definition. What makes you feel it? What does love allow you to do? And the evidence, or how do you know you have it? When you do this with a value, particularly one like love, the 40 to 200 words writing out the definition, what happens before, what happens after, the evidence, right? This is a pretty deep process that we do on our advanced training. And you might be quite surprised by it, but I promise you from the bottom of my heart, anyone that does these 4 steps, you're going to achieve significant growth.